I'm Russ Milheim from the Direct. Thank you for talking to me today about the
Thanks for
show.
talking to me too, Russ. Thank you.
Of course. Well, congratulations on grabbing that part. You got a pretty pivotal, small but very pivotal role
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
series. Getting a role within the world of Westeros is no doubt surreal. Did your experience on set live up to whatever your expectations were going in?
Oh, it surpassed them, to be honest. It was really, it really is like when I was a kid, imagining because the early things you imagine, you look at like films about films. Do you know what I mean? So they've always based on a Hollywood lot or something. So you have that idea, and it's very, I mean, granted, it's in Watford, which is no, but I suppose this little town North London have become. There's a little pocket of Hollywood there because it was really amazing, and like they're all like I was saying in another interview, um, the the kind of every department are like top of their game, and it's kind of crazy. Like the actors are incredibly talented. The set designers are like the best. The prosthetics, the makeup operation, and I call it an operation. It isn't like a makeup room; it's an operation. The hair. People are turning up to work looking one way, coming out of that little part of the studios looking like a Targaryen or indeed a rat catcher. So I mean, yeah, and I was saying earlier, in terms of getting into character, when you're existing in like they built a sewer, like that sewer was built for that. Like I thought they're gonna have us in a tub of water up to here with blue around us, and then nope, like so they built a sewer, all this stuff. So when you're actually in the surroundings you're being asked to imagine that you're in, and the makeup department have been so thorough with the grit in your nails that they're like that you can look down and you feel oily and sweaty, and it's just so good. So not much acting required other than, of course, being a Cockney gold cloak who doesn't mind killing children. That
Small little
I
quirk
must,
that you have there.
yeah, a little quirk. Yeah, I mean, I must confess, there's part of me that always wants to say, "Oh, I, I, when actors talk about, oh, this is the part of myself that I drew on here, and blah blah blah." Like, I just no two ways about it. It's make believe, and that's it. It's make believe land that looks really cool, and it's total make believe because the logistics of working with kids and like it's about keeping everyone safe and calm and okay, really, because you're at work and you're wanting to make something that the fans love. But actually, Mark and I hope, are perfectly capable of pretending. Do you know what I mean? Like we didn't have to go somewhere really dark because for that kind of, if I was playing someone closer to me, then yeah, sure, I would use a lot of myself. But in the case of playing someone like Blood, what I ended up using was elements of characteristics I'd seen out in the world. Like there's a butcher that I used to live in northeast London, and there's a butcher that I used to go to, and he had a very thick London accent, and he spoke like this, and he would look you in the eye while he cleaved meat. When he ordered like a steak or something, he'd go, and I thought, God, he's terrifying, and I thought, oh my God, it's Blood,
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's good to
and
know.
I impersonated him.
You have to go give him credit one day.
Yeah, I don't want to let him know that he was. It ends up being like a culmination of there was a performance by an actor in the original series of Utopia on Channel 4. Um, his name, oh yeah, that Neil Maskell, and he did a thing with heavy breathing with his character of Raisin Boy in that, and I remember finding it utterly terrifying. And this was at a time where I was dreaming of getting into TV. Uh, so there's little elements of that too. So it's I mean it's like an actor's dream. You get asked to play someone that you could never be anything like.
So the in the book, your key scene plays out a little differently. And so I wanted to ask, on set, how much was that part of the conversation? And then did the scene always play out the way that we see in the final product, or was there kind of some playing around with maybe the logistics of how it all went down?
Well, so actually, they were so thorough with it that by the time Mark and I were there and on board, the scene's pretty. Those I think those conversations have been had and decided on. Um, just because I think if often the actors will have a lot of input if there's how do I put it? If there's less, in a set like that, time is of the essence, really, and the resources that are at play with every single scene. So if you imagine that how much is going into each set and everything like that. So and of course, having kids there and all that kind of thing. I think those conversations had taken place between Ryan and Alan, the director. I think those had happened long before we were entered into it. And then beyond that, Mark and I really early on established with each other, it's our job. You get the sense that it's tricky. And I knew the scene was different because I went and read the book when I got the part with the illustrations and everything. That one copy, the one that you can get, the kind of the A4, and Blood had a shaved head in that, and I thought, great, I'll go bold, and I had all sorts of fantastical ideas about what we could make him look like. And actually, I'm really happy where we ended up with it. So in a sense, creating Blood was collaborative. Uh, um, because I wanted him to, everyone has their ideas of how they wanted him to sort of look, and I thought actually this kind of heavy breathing finds it irritating. It finds everything irritating. Finds it irritating. Probably got gout in both knees. Finds it a kind of all the worst parts of Henry VIII type thing, like a bear, like a tired bear, and I wanted him to be like that, and that in a sense was my job. And in terms of how the scene went down, it wasn't really the right environment for actors to go, actually, I think we should do this. Now, in terms of the grown-up acting and the logistics we came up with, so how Mark was holding Helena, where we were standing in relation, that was all up for grabs because actors are often able to offer out suggestions, and it was very collaborative. But in terms of like the details of like ask her to choose, make this decision, and then go for it, and then we're not going to see it, that was all sort of set in stone, really, by the time we were entered into the picture.
Yeah, so I assume everything like about the lack of Maylor involved in the scene was also all done before you, and not really much of the
Yes.
conversation on set.
No, no, it wasn't really, because I think it may well have been a big conversation somewhere else, but I think that it gets to a point where essentially those choices that are that large are way above my pay grade, and really, I mean, I remember having the thought that maybe this will be different to what some people expect, just because I've been a reader of books that get adapted to, and I'm just aware that you do have people that are attached to text and are quite purist in that way, and that's totally fair enough. Like, I totally understand that, and I understand that some people feel a little disappointed when things like that change. What I hope people, I suppose, can understand is in some senses, the greater necessity to keep the kids like not traumatized from acting in it, and to essentially make our kind of in good faith our best efforts to like convey the horror of that scene without having to take it to the lengths that it is in the book. I hope that people basically just feel like, at the very least, I honored how they imagined Blood. and how horrible he was, you know?
Now, I want to rewind a second. While, killing a baby is terrible, there's another moment that got a big reaction from fans, and that's when the dog got kicked in the sewers. Can you talk a little bit about the logistics behind how that worked? Because obviously no dog actually got kicked, but it sure looked like it.
What they actually had a blue ball on the end of a stick. I mean, it's yet again, and I can't say it enough. I cannot throw enough credit to art departments and like the CGI guys, the VFX guys. It looks so acutely like the dog is being kicked, and the dog, when he does the kick, there's no dog there. He kicks a ball in thin air, and then so he's completely computer generated, the dog being kicked. So Mark made it look like he was kicking thin air, because I've seen it online as well. People are like, why? Well, people were first accusing me of kicking the dog, and I said, A, no dog was kicked, and B, if you want to have a word, if you want to have to go, yeah, if you want to go to someone, me and Mark thought that it would be quite funny to tell people that we used that they used a cat and painted it green, and we came up with all sorts of like nonsense answers that we could give. Like we actually used a horse in a dog costume, and then the VFX guys shrunk the horse down just to be as facetious as possible. But no, in the kick moment, there was nothing there. But the dog himself, Bobby, oh my gosh, that dog is outrageously cute. They would be even more angry if they met him. He's the dog that plays the dog, Bobby. He is so sweet and obedient and like earnest. He's just the loveliest little thing. So we said the same thing when we met him. I said, Mike, you're not going to be able to actually kick the dog. He went, no, they're going to come up with something. And then we spoke to the CGI guys, and they had like a big blue football, like a soccer ball on the end of a stick. It's amazing how they do it. I mean, I'll never get my head around how these guys just sit on a computer and generate this stuff.
Now, I have a question for you that I don't know if you would have the answer, but I figured I wanted to ask. So at the beginning of episode 2, Aemond finds a coin on the
Yeah.
ground that leads him to, figure out that Daemon was targeting him. But I haven't been able to quite figure out what that coin was. And my guess was that it came from you guys when you guys were like walking around. Do you know if that is the case, or can you confirm if
Yes.
that's exactly what that is?
Yeah. So you know how we've got some gold. Um, to my understanding, I'm scrambling around loading more gold into pockets. And I think some of the gold that has been handed to me when I was at the gate, when I say fuck the high towers and which by the way, I didn't realize how brilliantly quoted that line would be. I'm really delighted because I would have to, before I went on set, go fuck the high towers and get my voice really working like how blood would sound. And yeah, so that's some of the gold he gave me at the gate.
Well, that's good. And like they focused on the sun logo, and I was like, I don't really know what that is, but I'm
Yeah,
happy that
yeah.
I was on the right track.
You are
Uh,
on the right track. It's a clue. It's a clue. Yeah, like there's basically I'm going like all that kind of sweepy. I don't think Blood is the most nimble of men.
it also didn't work out too well for you. So, and that's
No,
that's what I wanted to ask about next. Is you got a scene with Aegon who gives you a nice little death moment. What was it
yeah,
like filming that? It was brief, but it must have been a fun little moment.
yeah, it was a fun moment. I mean, we did prosthetics around my jaw and stuff like that. So for the mega fans, if you slow it down, there really is a kind of bone sticking out of my jaw for a moment, and um, that was great fun. Tom, who plays Aegon, is a lovely guy. I've met him a few times before. He's a sweet, really sweet guy. And Matt, who plays God, why can I?
Is it Lars? Are you talking about Lars?
Laris, sorry, yeah.
Laris. Yeah.
Matt, who plays Laris was he's like, I mean, the reason he's so spooky is because he is just so incredibly softly spoken and sweet. So
Hmm.
all he has to anyway, so all he has to do is sort of just handle these torture instruments like he's just having a look at them. And we had great fun filming that. Actually, we did. And leading up to the scene, I mean, I feel like when I watched it, I looked sufficiently distressed. I looked terrified, and it's because we played almost like a game, he and I, in the lead up to the scene where he kind of picked up various torture instruments, and I just watched him
Yeah.
quite a while and got myself really worked up. And they went in there, so that's one of those cases where it could have been a 10-minute long scene or as a minute like it was, and it was cut shorter, but we got a lot of footage there. And yeah, the hit across the face. I mean, look, I was all for Blood getting absolutely Blood's a total piece of shit. I like I say, when I was watching it, I've done it. I filmed it so long ago, and I kind of look nothing like him, really. So, like when I was watching it on screen, I was just like, I hope this guy gets like this. He's just cut a kid's head off. I hope he gets fucking. I'm really into the idea of Blood really getting his comeuppance.
Yeah.
I think I struggled for him not to,
Did Blood have any kind of additional scenes, small or large, that didn't make the final cut, whether they be in the script stage or you guys filmed some stuff and then it just didn't fit in the episode?
That's a really good question. I yes, yeah. There was one where I believe it was them entering through the kitchen, and there was some kind of question about who's this guy, and Cheese makes a case for him, saying, "Look, he's a new guy," and I'm stood there like, like the rat catchers are small and nimble, right? So like I'm there like in ill-fitting rat catcher wear, like looking, looking like looking like I got lost on the way to a rugby game. Like it was, and it was quite amusing. And I think that there was originally a real air of humor around the characters. Like they were a little bit like Harry and Marv, in a way, in a very dark way. But there was a kind of edge of them being two bumbling idiots.
Yeah.
And I think that what happened was, and this is all speculative, by the way, because once it goes to edit, like I said, I've got no
Yeah, yeah.
say,
All
but
hypothetical.
all hypothetical. But I think that when it goes to, I think that when it went to edit, probably what happened is they thought we can't really make light of these guys in any way,
Yeah.
because it's just sort of, if you're gonna, I would imagine if you're making the justification of such a grim plot point, I think maybe having us to like in any way like a comedy duo would just take away from the horror of it, I would
Hmm.
imagine. So yeah, in a sense, and we shot alternate versions. So like the bit where when I pin him up, Cheese, and I say, "How do we get upstairs?" And he says, "Well, I already brought you here," and all that. There were versions of that which we read in the audition together, uh, on like the fourth audition or whatever, because there's lots of rounds of auditions for this stuff. When we read that, we did that as like, how do we get upstairs then? And he's a bit like, well, I don't know. Well, you told me that it was a bit more of a to and fro, kind of. Well, you said to turn left, and it ended up becoming like, actually, it's just the threat of death for
Yeah.
Cheese. I think they really rode into making me just absolutely terrifying, which it worked, except for my mother said I just couldn't take you seriously at all because I know what a soft bastard you are.
I mean, to be fair, out of all characters to be similar to, um, you know, that's one that you don't want to be similar to.
No, no, that's true. That's true. I think I would have struggled to get the job in the first place.
Now, before we head off, I figured I also wanted to ask, do you have anything exciting coming up that you want to plug or talk about?
I'm doing a film and a series, both with Paddy Considine.
Hmm.
So it's his House of Dragon. I'm doing a film with him called Deep Cover, and that's with
Hmm.
Orlando Bloom, him. Bryce Dallas Howard, Ian McShane, all those guys. And Small Town Big Story, which is written by Chris O'Dowd, based in Ireland. Paddy Considine starring it with Christina Hendricks. And I am also alongside him as a character called Big Jim, who is a big soft bastard who gets cast as a hard Celtic nut job.
Closer to you.
So it's like, yeah, art imitating life, though, right? So, yeah, that's and I'm filming something at the moment, but I'm not allowed to say what it is, which is really annoying. It's the one I'm so excited about.
Something exciting at the least.
Yeah, dude, like I'm a bit of I'm kind of like a geek, like a sci-fi geek. I also have like a lot of memorabilia and like sci-fi I love and comics, and this particular thing I'm like, oh my god, like when I got it through I was like, okay, cool, I've arrived in a place that I really want to be. So I'm really chuffed, I'm really delighted.